All right, you guys. So the more you start to discover who you are after, trusting your spirit guides to have you unbury a whole bunch of things. Basically, describe my spirit journey right now. Who I truly am was buried 6 feet deep, and now, I feel as if I've risen from the dead, and I'm wandering around a graveyard trying to find home, only to discover the same people who attended my so-called quote-unquote funeral was the ones who buried me. So it's like I don't really have a home to go to. So it's like I feel like I'm just kind of roaming and haunting the streets looking for myself, knowing that I know myself, but the person that I truly am is so unfamiliar to me, and that false sense of security that was created, that doesn't fit. So I feel like I'm at a crossroad. Now, if you can relate, you have done a lot of inner work. And I'm going to talk to you guys about sociopathic toxic feminines. Now, my mother is a sociopathic individual. She is highly well versed in sociology and psychology. She is a Cancer sun with a Libra moon, so she knows exactly how to, be able to diplomatically, work shit in her favor. But my mother is so insecure and so highly jealous. This woman has been doing so much chaos magic on me. My oldest daughter's father, who I do not associate with, paid her to actually do chaos spells on me. So during the times that I was having a whole lot of fuck shit happen to me over and over, my mother was consistently basically doing a whole lot of root work on me, because my ex had went to other people to get it done, but it wasn't working. And he knew my biggest trauma was connected to my mother. Now, there was a lot I didn't know about my mom at the time, But as I'm starting to open my eyes and realize that, she's much more smoother than a toxic masculine. So this is bringing me to, understand that divine masculines out here are being very cautious about who they're giving their cup of love to. And a lot of divine feminines, we can really learn from divine masculines, Because when it comes to these twin flames, of course, we know it doesn't really exist. We know it's, it's like a very dark demonic practice of, attracting earth angels. But a lot of divine masculines understand how a toxic feminine who is sociopathic and obsessive can truly ruin your life in a way where if they try to talk about this shit, it'll be like, dude, you just, but it basically discrediting the individual, because society normally views feminine energy as this very healthy, balanced, nurturing. However, when you grow up with a highly sociopathic, stalkerish, obsessive, beyond envious and jealous mom who goes above and beyond to cover her tracks, like, this definitely impacts you. So this is coming from a place of, just to let you guys know, you can heal from this shit. My mother knew every time I got raped. In fact, she was very much responsible for these rapes. And I take full accountability for, not trusting myself and walking into dangerous situations. But to have a mother who has been doing consistent conflict spells on me, so I could run back to her and be like, oh my gosh, you're the only person I can trust. I've met a whole bunch of sociopathic, toxic feminines who are obsessive and who are also as highly jealous and envious as my mother. And I'm now at this place where I'm just like, okay, let's discuss some things. What can one expect? Because this toxic form of feminine energy, this is much more aggressive than toxic masculine energy. Now, for the most part, a lot of us are more familiar with aggressive toxicity in men, but what we don't take into consideration is when this toxic aggressiveness shows up in the nurturing energy of a toxic sociopathic obsessive feminine. There's actually some good men out here who have they have children with sociopathic narcissistic women. And the thing is, because society has painted the average empathic male, clairsentient male to be a deadbeat father, one would think, that this person just ain't shit, or this person ain't doing enough, or that person moved on too quickly. You don't recognize that this toxic obsessive sociopathic feminine has basically been doing everything to discredit this male. Basically, feminine energy is much more easier. It's easier to influence people. Okay, especially if the feminine energy, has very alluring looks. All right. And so a lot of feminine energies will be in the background due to not healing whatever trauma they have. And especially if this person is in the craft, they will be doing a whole lot of conflict magic, targeting it at the person who basically ended a cycle with them or who triggered their insecurities the most. And then, to cover their tracks, they will make sure they have the proper wardrobe. They'll make sure they're up on the latest psychology. They will make sure they are emotionally manipulating people. They will also make sure that they, have the right associations around them so that it can appear as if they are stable. So these type of sociopathic toxic feminines, they may not exactly be, the alpha female, but they will actually be puppeteering the alpha female who feels that the alpha female that they're puppeteering feels that they're puppeteering them. But in reality, they're puppeteering the alpha female. See? Because this toxic sociopathic obsessive feminine understands the person who is able to easily influence is the one who has power. Now, let's discuss having this knowledge and awareness and not abusing it. Related to money, some people with a poverty mentality will say money's evil. It's the intentions you put into it. How is because you know a certain thing makes you evil? It's what you choose to do with it. Okay? So I learned a lot of psychology from my mom. Now, You know, if I was in the spectrum where I'm like, ooh, I see how I can get over on people. Let me use this information to what? Draw some motherfucking shit in that I want at the expense of hurting others. 10-10, the cycle's ending as well for you guys, okay? But let's say, you know, you on the other spectrum, you know this information, but you understand how evil people abuse this kind of information and they just sit there and cause havoc. Do you sit there defenseless? Or do you take action? You have to take action, because it doesn't matter how honest you and upfront you are with these people. They're going to continue to do fuck shit. Now, the best way of war, and I've learned this from my sociopathic obsessive mother, you want to do it from a nurturing perspective, because if you are the aggressive one, you know, physically hurting people, you are drawing attention to yourself. Okay? If you're able to cover your tracks of abuse, no one will ever see that shit. 11:11. A portal just opened for you guys. My mother abused, you know, me to the point where my body still has aches sometimes. And I feel like this is the pain being released because I did not express my emotions for a very long time. My mother's a very vindictive individual, but yet when you hear her voice, oh my gosh, she sounds so sweet. She sounds so southern. You see her face, you know, and she has put together this well-oiled persona where this is the type of person I want to have in my life. But however, this person will stalk the shit out of you. I'm a 30-year young woman, and I chose to willingly separate from my mother. And my mother had my abusive ex contact me and tell me, so your mother put out a BPA or something looking for you. So just to force her way back into my life, my mother has been basically doing a whole lot of fuck shit. She's been buying my daughter stuff, hoping to guilt trip me like she used to. She has literally put out a search warrant for me, or a missing persons report, when I have willingly chosen to not be around her because I know how abusive she is. However, if you see this woman, you will be like, no, she has a heart thing on her. She has a bad heart. Well, she got a heart disease due to karma, because this woman was beating the fucking brakes off me. Do you know what it took for this woman to stop beating me? She had to get a fucking heart disease. Now, if someone's karma is to get heart disease, what does that tell you? See, we got to start looking at the physical and then add in the spiritual. People just think, getting random fucking diseases is lifestyle choices. Some would say it just runs in the family. But when you become aware that your actions impact others, you start to become very conscious of what you do, how you do things. So if this woman got a heart disease in her 30s, this was God's way to stop her from beating the fucking brakes off me. I couldn't quite figure out what made the abuse stop. But when she couldn't physically abuse me, she upped the psychological abuse, the emotional abuse. And I can finally say I am free from that. I remember I was talking to the therapist before I switched, old therapist before I switched to another one. And she said, your mother really had a grip in you. And at the time, I didn't quite understand how deep that statement went. But now I'm starting to see, when I was just, calmly telling her my tales, she was like, yo, your mother did some really fucked up shit. Now, this is part one.